Hello, happy Halloween, and welcome back to this edition of the Sooner Saloon podcast. We're going to be talking about the Texas Tech game. As always, I'm joined with Nick. Taylor cannot be with us tonight. He's got other duties to perform, so it's just going to be us two. Oklahoma starts out comes out for the weekend with a dominating performance over Texas Tech, a team that was 5-3. So definitely won some games. A competent team. And Oklahoma handled business, put them away, had what I would say the most complete totalitarian, game, total product game of the season against an FBS opponent. Nick, what are your thoughts?
I would agree 100%. They looked really good. They finally played a complete game. And, Texas Tech scores in the last minutes of the game on the second team. We kind of give up some jump balls.
Garbage.
Maybe on a fourth down in the end zone, but I can live with that. I can live with Saturday's play, but offense clicked, these receivers clicked. That's something that I'm excited to talk about because we haven't had
let's go ahead and
guys.
get into it. Let's get into the passing game. Caleb Williams had an amazing day. 23 of 30, 6 touchdowns. What more can you say? A 67-yard strike to Marvin Mims. Marvin Mims had 2 touchdowns. Half of his touchdown. Every other time he touched the ball, he was scoring a touchdown, basically. 4 receptions, 2 touchdowns.
And then, and you have 135 yards. What's that say? That's absolute deep threat.
Yeah, that's insane. 67 yards, and that was an amazing spin move, and then it was just off to the races.
Right, and perfect placement by Caleb Williams. That ball could not have been in a better spot than that.
Yeah, let's talk about Caleb Williams. He is playing out of his mind. He's got over 10 touchdowns for the season, and he's played in 3.5 games. I mean, he's got 1 pick. He's throwing over 70% completion rate. He's just playing out of this world, especially for a true freshman.
I think he's got 15 to 16 touchdowns on the season total. I don't know if that's all passing. I just think that's total. But just definitely elite. And, you could see this guy in New York at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think he has to get invited to New York, especially if Oklahoma remains undefeated. Knock on wood. Yeah, if they continue to go undefeated and he continues to put up numbers like this, granted, we have the gauntlet of the Big 12 these last 3 weeks, so I wouldn't expect his production to be as high as this game. And you've also seen him struggle in a game that he was fully prepared to start as, in the Kansas game. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if you continue, if he can continue to put up 35, 40 points a game for this Oklahoma offense, like we know they can, even against good defenses in the Big 12. He should definitely be at least in New York, if not winning the thing.
Right, and he kind of showed that he is, in fact, human against Kansas, but he also made some insane plays, the 4th and 1, and he steals the ball from Kennedy Brooks. Awareness off the charts, and he's a true freshman. Just wait till this kid, is a junior or, I doubt he stays till his senior year, but when he's an upperclassman, the type of control he's going to have over a game and just the team in general.
He's got 14 passing touchdowns and 4 rushing touchdowns in 3.5 games. That is insane.
I knew it was over 15, but I didn't know the exact number. It seems like every time he touches the ball, just on a simple run play, he's got, the capability of breaking it loose, going for 50.
Yeah, he does. And he's got breakaway speed. He can make multiple people miss, whether it's Kansas defenders or Texas defenders, regardless of their athleticism. So he's made multiple people miss in the backfield and then bust it to the house.
So Caleb Williams obviously has a great day with 6 touchdowns passing with, 402 yards. And he's 23 for 30. But let's talk about, we already talked about Mims having a big day. Mario Williams also stepped up in this game. He was out versus Kansas. He shows his impact player capabilities. And then Drake Stoops has his first touchdown reception. Braden Willis comes in, Austin Stogner comes in. All these guys are getting
Was that Braden
receptions.
Willis's first? Was that Braden Willis's first career touchdown?
No, he's had a
Wasn't?
couple.
Okay.
I know he had
Okay.
one against Baylor last season for sure.
Was it the first one this year?
It may have been.
I think it might have been. Anyway, yeah, I mean, Caleb Williams distributed the ball really well. We got to see the talent of, all the the depth on the receiving core. Jaden Hazelwood, the one starter that didn't have a touchdown. Excuse me. But he's had 5 in the last 2 games, and he had an amazing one-handed catch. He's out here making catches like CeeDee Lamb used to. How many one-handed catches has he had in this year alone? Like at least 4.
Right. You might as well count the spring game while you're at it too, because he had another spectacular
exactly.
catch.
Yeah. I mean, so you saw the receivers ball out, and Oklahoma didn't have a lot of rushing yards, but it seemed like they didn't even really need to run the football. They were just letting Caleb Williams. Lincoln was fine with letting him throw it all over the field because he was like, we have better athletes than them in the secondary, and we're just going to, wing it.
Right. They really didn't need the rushing game, but one thing that I did notice is Marcus Major finally got on the field, and he almost led the team in rushing with like 5 carries, and it was all fourth quarter touches.
Yeah, he also murdered someone. Oh my good Lord. When that dude's helmet came off, that was insane.
Poor
guy. What a play. Yeah. Marcus Major could be a very critical component if you think about it late in the season when we're playing in the Big 12 Championship, when we're playing Iowa State and Oklahoma State, top 15 matchups potentially.
Okay, he was talented last season, but he looks different. Just within those 5 times he rushed the ball, he looks different. He looks elusive, and he looks like he's running downhill harder. Like you can tell he's been chomping at the bit to play this game of football, and I love it.
He looks thick. He looks in shape. He looks fresh. He is ready to punish people, and that's exactly what you want to close out games at the end of the season when we're playing tough defenses. And it's the fourth quarter, and you're holding on to a 7-point lead or a 10-point lead against a ranked opponent, and you got to run the 4-minute drill and run the ball and ice the game. He's going to be a huge he could be a huge potential contributor in that role.
And I think he will, Emerson. Like I think he definitely has that potential, and he's kind of a combination of Kennedy Brooks and Eric Gray. He's shifty, but he's got a lot of power behind him, and he showed that on that hit. I don't know what his name was, but he felt it, and he was mad about it.
I'm looking. Monroe, number 11. Yeah, Monroe. I hope you're all right, dude, because that was a heck of a lick you took for Major, for Texas Tech.
He's probably got a gnarly bruise right on his chest.
Well, and I mean, with Major, coming along, what do you think about potentially a pistol formation? Lincoln could easily do a pistol formation with Kennedy Brooks, Eric Gray, and Marcus Major in the backfield, and then split out Eric Gray to the slot, and that's just adds more versatility. If you
add emotion into it, so many misdirection. Exactly. There's a lot of bases you could cover right there. I like that.
It's safe to say that the skill positions of the offense are hitting their stride right exactly when you would want them to. Kennedy's had 3 or 4, 4 back-to-back really good games. I guess the Kansas game wasn't good. But Kennedy Brooks is starting to become, the man that we know, the ball carrier we know him as from the last 2 years. Eric Gray, it seems like they're finally figuring out how to use him in the offense and get him some open looks. And then, like we said, the wide receivers are all coming along. So I think the skill positions and Caleb Williams is developing excellently, in my opinion. So...
And, a guy that we haven't talked about yet, Spencer Rattler came in, and he was 5 for 5, 67 yards, threw a 50-yard bomb, to Brian Darby, who made an unbelievable catch. But it's good to see Spencer have his head on straight. And he knows he still wants to play for OU, and he's going to remain at Oklahoma the rest of the season. So all those Spencer Rattler doubters, can be silenced because he was locked in and he played a sharp game. So that's exactly what he needed. And I was so happy to see it. When he launched that ball downfield, I was like, I haven't seen that all season. But he took the shot, and guess what? It's a touchdown pass. So
I couldn't be more happy for Spencer Rattler, and this might be the last time he gets to come out and have a chance like that, but I love that the first shot he gets to remind everyone who Spencer Rattler is. He shows off the arm strength, a 60-yard bomb right in the, right where only the wide receiver can catch it. And it's like, okay, yeah. Does Oklahoma have the two best quarterbacks in the country on their roster right now?
Yes. Okay.
It's close.
Okay, get this. The dude is 15-2, has a Big 12 championship under his belt, and is on the bench. You can't say he's, that we don't have the best quarterback crew in the nation.
Yeah. And what, he won 11 games straight, 12 games straight? So, yeah. It's pretty impressive. Oklahoma's definitely in a great spot.
Let's talk about the defense a little bit. Isaiah Thomas, I know you were really ecstatic about what he did. He had that strip, gets the recovery. Pat Fields and Justin Broyles both get a pair of interceptions, and then Danny Stutzman made a hell of a hit on the kickoff, but we didn't recover it. So that could have been 4 right there.
Yeah. No, yeah, the defense creating turnovers. The defensive line didn't produce a lot in terms of numbers. Like they didn't get any sacks. They did have a strip sack. Thanks to Isaiah Thomas, who is putting on a clinic, and he's just been the most consistent defensive. I mean, between him and probably Delarian Turner-Yell, the two most consistent players on defense for the last 2 years, and. Yeah, they didn't get a lot of but they were able to generate enough pressure, and that affected the quarterback's rhythm, and they were able to capitalize on turnovers. And Pat Fields, who hadn't had an interception until this year, and he's a redshirt senior, and now that's his second interception already of the season. So you can tell that the defense, something is starting to come along, and the turnovers are going to start rolling in even heavier than they have been.
Yeah, it's definitely good to see. And, I complain about, those jump balls in the end zone, but the wide receiver makes a hell of a play, hell of a catch. There's 2 guys on him. Darian Turner-Yell almost bats it. He gets his hand on it, but it's literally simultaneously him catching it and him touching it as in swiping the ball away. So, I don't know. It's iffy, but those are just plays that we're going to need to make in big-time games. And Oklahoma, I will say, Lincoln Riley hasn't lost a game in November so far at being Oklahoma. So
true.
This series of games is so important. So important. We've been so dominant in November, championship November. So we'll see our championship run for the Big 12 and potential college football playoff berth. And I'm interested to see who's going to win out, in the Big 10 and SEC, who's going to win the Alabama-Georgia matchup. Because I feel like Cincinnati's going undefeated. I just have that feeling they're going to be in.
They have SMU like the second to last game of the year,
which is going to be.
I'm waiting on that game. Yeah, that will be a very interesting game, and it literally. I mean, and if they beat SMU, wouldn't they have to play them again in the conference championship?
I'm not too sure.
SMU's what, 8-1? I don't know. Yeah, but so yeah, Cincinnati. There's a lot of things to look at. There's a lot of football left to be played. But if Oklahoma continues to take care of business, they should be fine. I thought the defense looked really, really, probably the best they've looked all season as a total unit. You get Delarian Turner-Yell back. You get Jalen Redmond back. You get Keyshawn Lawrence getting really good corner play.
I noticed that too. He was making plays out there, and it looked good. It looked like he was a corner.
Yeah, in 50-50 ball situations, like you were talking. He was a guy, DJ Graham, I think he only had a couple targets to his side because he was just on lockdown like he normally is. So I think the secondary is finally starting to come into form. In a way that we expected. Nickel, Justin Broyles played well, so I think everything's kind of getting settled there. And if they can continue to remain healthy, they have, 5 contributors at linebacker, 9 contributors in the defensive line, and, another 8 to 9 contributors in the secondary. That's the type of defense that you want to have going into the playoffs and, Big 12 championship and everything that we have.
Right, and this bye week is going to be, key going forward with Woody Washington, getting him back because he's potentially our best defensive back. And there's just so many injuries going around that it's insane. We still got Mike Woods out on offense, but, receivers stepped up. They all had a really big week. So it's just
I think
eyes are on the secondary right now. It's all about secondary play, and if we can get our D-line up to speed, and we need to make more tackles head-to-head. But that did improve over this last week. But my concern is going up against the Georgias, the Alabamas, the Ohio States. It's just the playoff is what concerns me because I don't want to have another year where we get embarrassed.
Honestly, I think the only team that has the capability of embarrassing Oklahoma this year, unless they just totally give up, which we've seen Oklahoma do before in, crunch time kind of situations against an opponent just as good as them. But I really think the only team that has the potential to dominate Oklahoma is Georgia. And that's really just depends on how good Oklahoma's offense looks against Georgia's defense. Because I don't know, how really tested has Georgia's defense been over the years, over this season. But, I think other than that, obviously Ohio State looks suspect. Alabama has looked suspect, and they lost to an unranked A&M team that everyone forgets to mention. A&M was unranked. A&M beat Colorado by 1 possession. And now everyone wants to have, that's a topic for another time with Alabama's rank. But anyway, the only team that I think, Oklahoma might actually, line up against and say who's better, across the board, top to bottom of the roster, probably Georgia. Maybe.
I agree. They deserve to be number 1, and they deserve to be the favorite. They're undefeated, and their defense has played lights out against everybody, and they put up numbers. They just haven't really been tested in a close battle yet, and Alabama's going to give them that. I guarantee it. It's going to be one of those games.
Yeah, it'll be exciting once as the last month of because you still have Ohio State and Michigan have to play. Ohio State and Michigan State have to play. Bama has to play Georgia probably in the SEC championship. I don't know what's going on in the Pac-12. I'm sure Oregon probably has a game against Washington or something left to play. There's things that can happen. Right. Wake Forest will have to play someone in the ACC championship.
Right, and
which is
Tuesday,
a crazy thing to say.
Tuesday we're going to be dropping our rankings. Myself, Emerson, and my brother will all have our rankings out, and it's going to be interesting where we have everybody. So, I think
we'll probably have the top 10, each of our top 10 or top 15, and we'll have them written up, and we'll go over them and break them down and tell everyone what we think.
Right, and you guys comment what you think. So, for that being said, happy Halloween. From the Sooner Saloon. Key in on Tuesday for our college football playoff rankings. It's going to be awesome.